All right, so let's move on. I gave you a list of practice tasks, and these are things that I would like for you to be able to do by this week, by the end of this week. So, first on the list is setting up an audio device, and I already went through that, but just in a nutshell, we go to Options, Preferences, and then over here where it says Audio, you might have to scroll down to this. You go to Device, and then here is where you choose your input device. So again, if you are using your computer default sound, that you just select that. Now you probably, so if you have an audio interface, you would select that. And you definitely want to use headphones. This is very, very important. I'll explain why that is in a minute. But you should be able to just plug in your headphones, and your output device shouldn't have to change. But if it doesn't, so if, for example, you plug in your headphones, and then when you play back on Reaper, it still comes out of the speakers, then come here and just check to see that your output device, you can actually click on this box, and then what this allows you to do is use separate input and output devices. So you can say, I want as an input device my internal microphone, and as an output device my headphone output. And sometimes you do have to specify it. By default, this box isn't checked. You should be able to just use your default device and everything should work, but that's always an option. All right, so I don't know if you noticed, I had to change my device because I'm actually going to be recording sound. So I have to change device for these videos. I have to change device if I'm recording, and then change it again if I'm playing it back so you can hear it through the video. It's kind of convoluted. So you won't have to do some of the steps that I have to do. Anyway, so then the next thing I want you to be able to do is to open a sound file. And again, there's different ways to do it. You could go to you can go to Insert Media File and just find a sound file there. You could just throw it in there. You can just double click on it, or just click on it and then click Open, and that's that. You could go to View, Media Explorer, hunt for your sound file there, and you can just drag it and drop it into here. And you can also go directly to your hard drive, and I have it on a different window here. Let's say that I find a sound file over here on my desktop, and I just drag it and just drop it directly onto here. Okay, so I don't need all of this, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Oh yes, by the way, let me say no for a second. I do want you to know how to delete things. By the way, just to expand the track, I'm just going to the edge of it, and the cursor changes when you do that, and then you just click and drag. So to delete an item, you just click on it and it becomes like highlighted. To delete a track, a whole track, you just click the track, select the track, and you delete it. Simple as that. So that's that. And then let me actually go back for a minute. I think I jumped ahead a little bit. I want you to be able to play things back. So to play things back, you just move your play bar, and then you just press play. That's all there is to it. And the items can be, I don't know, if I were to enter a new one, let's see, which one do we want? If I were to put another one over here, then if it'll play back, and then it'll not play, there's no sound here, but it'll continue on, and then it'll eventually, once it reaches this point, it'll play back that, okay? So that's that. And the next thing I need you to be able to do is to arm a track for recording. Now this we definitely did not talk about, so here we go. All right, so there are a couple of things here that you need to really pay close attention to. So I'm going to go ahead, I don't have to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and delete this track, okay? Just start from scratch. So I'm just going to double click, and I'll have a brand new track. I'm going to make it wider, and I'm going to call it My Voice. Now, before you do anything, make sure, so if you have headphones on, go ahead, you don't have to worry about this. If you don't have headphones on and you're playing sound through the speakers and recording, then you definitely have to do this, or else you're going to get feedback. So remember that this corresponds to this track. So whatever I do to this, these sliders here, these buttons, all of these affect this particular track right here. In fact, if you look at the name of the track, it's the same. And if I change the name over here, My Voice 2, then the name changes there too. And if I change the name over here, it changes over there. So these are connected. Now, this little speaker looking thing is your monitoring option. So there's a couple different ones. The only ones we really need to worry about it is whether our monitoring is on or off. So what is monitoring? Monitoring means that if monitoring is on and you're about to record and you've armed your track, you will hear the sound of your voice or whatever you're trying to record through the headphones, so that as you sing or as you play, you get to hear it. Now, this is generally what you want because you want to be able to hear, because you hear it in a different way. If you have, you're basically hearing what the microphone hears. It'll give you a nice sense, like there's like a weird pop or something, or there's like an airplane flying by and you might not really hear it, but through the microphone it's very, very obvious. So that's what you want to monitor. You also can monitor levels and things like that. So if you are not going to use headphones, definitely turn it off. And to turn it off, you can do it two ways. You can click on the speaker twice. What you want it to be is an empty little speaker. And so now another way to do it is you right click on it and you uncheck this. Whereas now it's checked as monitor input, that's the default. You uncheck it and now it doesn't monitor. Either way, you will record sound. The only difference is as you record, if monitoring is on, you will hear it through the headphones. And if monitoring is off, you won't. That's that. Okay. Right. So then once we've taken care of that, so again, if you're using headphones, you can monitor audio if you want to. We will arm the track. To arm the track, we just press either this red button here or this red button here once. And now we are monitoring. So what does that mean? It means we are now using the meters here to determine how to visualize the loudness of the sound, essentially. Now this is very important because if the sound is too quiet, if I go way too far away, now this means, well, I'm seated, but if I was to walk way, way, way far away and the sound was too quiet, that means that after the fact, I would want to raise the volume. And as you do that, you're also raising the volume, the noise level of the room, because if you're really far, you're also recording the noise of the room more. And when you raise that volume, it'll also raise that. So when you are recording, you want to generally not be too far away from the microphone. I mean, this is all obviously depends on what you're recording, but in this case, I'm about, I don't know, 6-7 inches away from the microphone. And this seems okay. So the level, this meter tells you, shows you it gives you a visual representation of the loudness. So these are, -6 dBs, -18, etc., etc. Now, what you want it to be is somewhere around here. You generally want there to be a little bit of wiggle room, because in case you get suddenly a little bit louder. What you never want is to be all the way to the top. Now, look what happens if I go all the way to the top. If I get really, really close to the microphone, really, really close, and now it clips. You see how the color of the meter changed, and now it's giving me like a signal that something's going on. So what this means is that at that moment, or at some point, the sound was distorted. And when the sound is distorted, that means that that it's not a true, accurate representation of it. And if you're distorting a lot, it becomes really obvious. It's literally, like those TikTok videos when people scream into the microphone. That's what that is. It's a fun thing, I suppose, in a TikTok video, but it's not usually what you want. So that's something you need to be mindful of. What Reaper will do is it'll give you a signal that it has happened. So now if you're playing a sound file and suddenly it clips, it'll do this, and then you have to say, oh boy, where did it clip? And there's a lot of reasons why that happens, but basically if you're just recording one mic, it's because you've gotten too loud, it's because your mic level is too high. And it's got to do not with the speakers, not with the volume of the speakers, it's got to do with how loud either the instrument is or how close to the mic you are. And it basically just means that you were too loud for the computer to be able to accurately represent the sound, okay? So to undo it, you just check it, and now if you notice, it's now gotten back to sort of an orangey color, okay? Right, so that's that. So here we go, ready? Let's go record a little bit. So I'm just gonna press the record button now. Now this is, by the way, not actually recording at this moment, it's just monitoring, okay? Then we click on this button. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 1, 1. Press stop. And then it's going to ask you, what do you want to do with this? Do you want to save it? This is the file that it recorded. I'm going to say yes, save it. And then now I don't have to disarm it, but I will. And I'm just going to go here and press play. Oh yes, you can hear it. Preferences. or maybe you can. I'm going to go back to this just in case. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, so you can hear that the voice is pretty clear. It seems loud enough. It's not too quiet. It's not too loud. It doesn't sound like I'm screaming, hopefully, at you. But so that's kind of where you want it to be. So you when Reaper visualizes creates like a drawing of the sound of the waveform, and that's actually very helpful for determining whether something is too loud or too soft. So if you end up with something that you can barely see, like if you have to zoom in like this to even be able to see anything, that means your sound is too quiet. If it's absolutely crazy constantly at the top, then it's much too loud. And I mean, I can show you maybe a little bit of what too loud might look like. So I apologize if it's going to bother you when you hear this. Okay, ready? Oh yes, I have to go back to. See, this is the annoying part with having to do these in the videos, is that I have to switch devices. So you don't have to do any of this, okay? Okay, here we go again. Dust, 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 dot, 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 dot. Okay, so did you see what happens? You get these like really large blocks, and it actually wasn't clipping the whole time, but there's moments that are where you see, let me zoom in a little bit, where you see that there, oops, that's not what I meant to do. There it is. Okay, so there's moments where you see that the sound, the waveform, reaches all the way to the edge, and it's almost as if it's just, it loses shape. It's sort of like it's at the extreme, and it's almost as if it wanted to go further and it can't. And so those are the moments when it's clipping. And sometimes if it's really crazy loud, it'll just look like a big block of sound. And that's really not what you want, because this doesn't give you any wiggle room. Like for example, if I was to combine, and later we'll get into this, if I combine, even though this doesn't look like it's very loud, when you start to combine various tracks together, all of those sounds get combined together, and then they kind of increase the general loudness. So anyway, in general, this is kind of a very not very scientific, but if you want to be able to see the waveform, you don't want it to be all the way to the top. It could be a little louder than it is here, but this actually can be changed, and we'll get into that later. Okay, so that's good. So we want to record. So I want you to be able to do this little kind of recording sample. I want you to be able to play back what you've recorded, which of course you know how to do. And now, as far as using a click track, so the easy way to do it is just to turn on the metronome. Okay, so you turn on the metronome, you press play, and you're going to hear the metronome. Now, I don't think the metronome though will come through. If it does, I don't know if you can hear it, but that's because of the rounding of the audio in the computer. It's kind of weird. But basically, you can click this, and then as you record, of course, assuming you're using headphones, because if you're not using headphones, the sound of the metronome will come through the speakers, and then it will be recorded, which is not what you want. Now, if you actually want to see what the metronome looks like, which I suppose sometimes you might want to do, you can actually go to insert, and you go click source. And what that does is it basically inserts like a little metronome actual track. And this, I don't know, I guess it could be useful. You can hear it. If I do this now, let me delete this and let me explain this a little bit better. Let me call this metronome, or actually let's call it click. And now when I go and record, let me make sure that I have the right device selected. I do. Right. Okay, so now if I record, let me try this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I save. Okay, and now when I play back, let me switch my device. You should be able to now hear a click, as well as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, So it kind of gives you a visual representation of this metronome. Now this you can get rid of course. So once you're done with it, the metronome sound isn't actually in this recording. It's a separate track. So you can make it louder, you can get rid of it, and you can just, now if I take it away, you can now hear one. Oh, let me turn that off.
1, 2,
You hear
3, 4.
just clean
1,
sound.
2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so that's it. So check your levels, play around with this, record a little bit, play some sound files, and that's it. And I'll see you in the next video.